So this is Buck Five for the Ride It Off podcast. We're here today. We're going to discuss and talk about all these issues and concerns going on with VA, Veterans Administration, especially with the hospitals, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the political arena. We're not going to dwell or get too much in that, but overall, we're going to talk about our experiences at the VA hospital. The stories, the journeys that we have navigating, issues with your PCP, primary care provider, or with the pharmacist. You're not getting the medications that you wanted or you expected to get from the pharmacy. So we're going to just discuss that, any issues that we had during those journeys while we navigate the system. So I'm here with Zach and the lovely Alfina. Go ahead, Zach. Tell us a little bit about the VA and what you've been experiencing.
Well, I've been in the VA system since 2010, and I've seen a lot of improvements over the years. I feel like we've kind of hit a plateau, and feel like they definitely need to start working towards, improving again. I feel like some of the newer automated options that veterans are going to have to either file claims or seek treatment could be helpful in that. I also feel like there could be a learning curve type of period where mistakes will be made. I've noticed.
Okay,
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said something about a shirt. Sorry.
Okay. Thanks for distracting me.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah, clearly. All right. Take two. So I feel like mistakes will be made, and that, there will definitely be some hiccups, and there will be a learning period to utilize some of these unmanned options or do-it-yourself options. But overall, once they start really moving forward with them, I feel like it will benefit the veteran. I get it. They're going to displace some workers with that, and they're going to do their reduction in force. But from my understanding, the current numbers at the VA healthcare system, there really aren't going to be any more cuts.
Yeah, no large scale. Yeah.
Right.
Really.
It's going to be natural attrition. It's going to be through retirements, some buyout, early retirement offers, because they're already at their new optimum number of 30,000 people of a reduction instead of the 80. They're not looking to get rid of another 50,000. I feel like that large of a number could have been extremely detrimental to the services that we veterans get from the VA healthcare system. So with that said, I definitely feel better about their streamlining. I know that isn't necessarily a popular opinion. It's just my opinion. What about you, Buck?
Yeah, the natural or the attrition process. So I know one thing, my experience with the VA and dealing with, working as a federal employee, is understanding that, they have a probationary period. And that's when the manager, supervisor, chief, whoever can gauge that employees, are they willing, are they doing, this, that service? Are they, fully successful?
Are they productive?
Exactly.
Do they meet their goals?
Exactly. And during that 1 year period, I think what, the hospital or, with federal workers and stuff, sometimes some of these employees are just making it and they should be making it. So it's not for me to say to determine like if someone's, oh, you're not cutting the mustard, but I think customer service has to be a strong point as a federal worker, especially dealing with our veteran staff, or yeah, and then also our veterans themselves. They should have a sense of, you know, pride for taking care of veterans and
Yeah.
also working with fellow veterans as well. If you don't have that mentality that that you're not patriotic in some context, but you should have a love for taking care of those who have served. I think they need to get in the mode of hiring people who really have that that extra customer
All to
service.
service.
Yeah, the call to service. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, like with my care, yeah, I get good care. I know I had an outstanding provider when I first got home from Iraq. I kind of miss I don't have him because anything I wanted, he was able to, hey, I'll do, counsel for this, counsel for that, I'll get
Yep.
medication this, medication for that. He was on top of everything I needed coming from home. Especially like I even know what's going on with me. And he was like, hey, we'll see, you can see this specialist, that specialist. He was on top of it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Medical professionals that look at people like that, like, what can I do to help you? Those are the types of employees any healthcare system should strive to retain, to
Mhm.
obtain. Um, and I feel like the VA system has failed at that for an extremely long period.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I feel like they fail at it so regularly and readily because it's probably one of the most stressful, unsatisfying healthcare systems out there because there are so many hurdles to getting treatment for your patients and for the veterans that even for a healthcare provider, they can get disheartened with that. Not only the patient or the veteran, but the actual provider can get disenfranchised by the bureaucracy of a
Mhm.
government ran healthcare system. That's why there's been talks of just doing away with the VA as a whole for years because it's not a healthy system. It doesn't offer the best possible care for the patient or the veteran. It's the old military check the box system. Has your
Mhm.
primary care physician seen you within a calendar year? Has your specialty care provider seen you within the prescribed 12-month, 9-month, 6-month period? Let's just check those boxes. I had a horrible specialty care provider that I would see twice a year. And I would go in to see this doctor, this MD neurosurgeon, and he would literally sit with his back to me for 15 minutes. My appointments required a 90-minute in-depth physical exam, cognitive exam, and this man would be like, "Do you need any prescriptions refilled?" Type away on his computer with his back to me, and he'd be like, "Have you noticed any new symptoms?" Like,
Mm-mm.
I don't know. I don't know what to look for. No
Right.
one's communicating with me. And eventually it got to the point where while I was attempting to increase my service connected disability rating, I pulled my own medical records and in my own personal review of them, I found things from MRIs, from blood tests, from even his own doctor's notes that stated I had symptoms and medical issues that needed to be addressed that were never even mentioned out loud. My appointments with this specialty care physician, instead of lasting 90 minutes as they were scheduled for, would last between 10 and 15 minutes.
Wow.
I know, that's shocking. That's horrible.
It was infuriating. And I got to the point where, after I had reviewed my own medical records and seen that he hadn't made me aware of severe medical conditions that literally were verbalized in notes.
Right.
You know, urgent care needed.
Right.
Urgent surgical care needed. And then looking up some of the terminology they use to describe what types of conditions were happening to me. Some of them were like potentially terminal. And he never once made an effort to communicate that to me. And I basically found out like he wasn't reading or even viewing any of my MRI results. I'm like, hey, so the last time I saw him, which was years ago now, thank God, he tried to boot me out after 10 minutes. He's like, all right, everything sounds good. You know, I'll get those prescriptions in for you. Anything else from me, as he's already walked up from his desk, walking to the door to kick me out? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I need you to look up an MRI from 18 months ago. A year and a half. I'm like, okay, now that you've pulled it up on your computer screen, you want to go ahead and read those notes and talk about the progression of my disease and talk about the urgent surgical, potentially life-threatening cyst I now have growing in my ear canal that could rupture any time, and it was toxic and it could have leached into my brain and potentially killed me. I'm like, you want to talk about that? Because I feel like we need to move forward with a treatment plan now that it's a year and a half later. And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess we can talk about that. And I stopped him and I'm like, I just wanted you to be aware of the improper and wholly amount of lack of care you have given me. So now I am going to request directly through you my specialty neurology care for community care services that a lot of veterans aren't aware of that they can ask for. They can get medical care out in the community that they live in, or they can go to a local university that has a specialized medical division and get top-notch, cutting-edge treatment. And that's ultimately what I had to do. They shipped me off. I mean, it took another 6 months for me to get the appointment, but they sent me to the University of Michigan to have my cyst evaluated, looked at, and ultimately they determined that it was not in my ear canal. It was in my jaw, and it was benign, and it had already taken care of itself. But at the same time, they diagnosed me with TMJ, which is, it's nice to know, but it's not anything that's getting any better. But yeah, I have, not only was I able to get that specialty care and find out that I wasn't living with a ticking time bomb in my ear canal with a direct highway to my brain, I also have been seeing a private neurologist through community care, so on the VA's dime, and that medical provider I now have is just like the medical provider you talked about, Buck, where he's like, how can I help you? What can I do for you? Like, do we need to adjust anything? You know, how do you feel about this? And I'm getting my in-depth 90-minute physical exam, question exam, cognitive exam. I'm getting all of those things. And that makes me feel better. But the path to get there was so physically and mentally draining. Like I was ready to be like, I'm done. I don't care. Whatever happens, happens. I'm over it. But like I tell all the guys I help in navigating and advocating for themselves, you got to stick with it. You know, you got to keep the blinders on and do what's best for you.
Yeah, I think one of the best things with the provider I had was me and him are right around the same age group. You know, I think he was maybe 3-5 years older than me, but we had that instant connection. Alfina, can you talk about some of the things you experienced with the VA?
Yeah, sure. So, actually, I have examples for both areas that you guys are talking about, both the physical as well as like the mental health. So, with the mental health, the VA, I feel, was doing better when they went to like the whole health system, whenever that transition happened. But I think the problem within there is the continuity of care. I've had at least 5 different physicians within the last 2 years, and more so, it's like people quitting or doing other things. But part of the rift when VA employees were mandated no more work at home, that kind of affected the mental health care. Because the providers that I did have were really, really good, but they were in part good because they were at home doing the therapy. So they weren't part of the bureaucracy, and people aren't beating down their doors when they're trying to meet with you. So there weren't so many disruptions. On the physical part, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start because Jake's was horrific. That is such a horrific story.
Yeah, that was
Mine
bad.
mine is a little similar in that I think what you're trying to say too is like veterans do have to advocate for themselves. You have
Yeah.
to be aware of your X-ray examinations, right? Or
Yes.
anytime you get the MRIs. And I
Yeah,
like
and
that,
any tests.
and I like the fact that you actually looked up, your conditions. I've done that too. And only by doing that was I able to gain a thorough understanding and take my case to the U of M. I just took it because I always had U of M as my insurance anyway. So I already took it to them. But I was going to say those points were very important that you say that because I hear it all the time from some of my providers. I'm not sure what I have. So I'm kind of at the beginning stage, I think, where you were, where I had a bad x-ray. And the only thing that I got from my primary care was it's abnormal. Well, what the hell does that mean?
Right.
Abnormal.
So let's explore this abnormality together.
Right,
Like,
right.
can we talk about this?
But you can't
What
really
test
get
do I have
them.
to take?
Right, right, exactly. So um by looking it up though, I was able to take my care to U of M and kind of get the ball rolling a little bit faster. So mine is going to probably be spine is what we're looking at. So once I knew that it was that intricate of a how do I say that?
Diagnosis.
Yeah. I went straight to U of M because I was already part of their neurology. But I
Okay.
told them immediately. I ended up in the emergency room, and I just read off to them what the X-ray said. And they were like, "Oh my goodness!" They're like, "This is horrible." So they gave me a referral, and I'm going to be going and following up with their clinic. But what I'm saying to you is that my doctor just said it's abnormal. That tells me
Yeah.
absolutely
All right.
nothing.
What's the explanation? What's the
Yeah.
treatment?
Right. So I guess I'm just kind of piggybacking on what you just said and trying to express from my perspective, too, is how important it is. And the providers that I've been seeing now, they tell me themselves. I had a EMG the other day. So they said really bad case of carpal tunnel. But the doctor that does it and they tell you the diagnosis right there, she said, no, it's gonna probably take you advocating on yourself. She said there is surgery. You know, it's really quick. It's right here in the clinic. We do it all the time. It's non-invasive, you know, and your pain will go away. But you're gonna have to bug your primary care to put that in for you. Isn't
Right.
Yep.
that something?
Put that counsel in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and she
That's
emphasized it too. I
horrible.
said, and I thought to myself, Jake, I said, all right, I'm used to it now. I'm numb. I'm absolutely numb with it because they've done this for the over 25 years.
Yep.
You know, this has been my experience over and over again. And if it's something new, they don't want to look at the physical part because I'm rated high on the mental health part, right? So it's all in my head. The physical part, I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that your medical providers are not treating you like that or thinking of it like that. That would be
I've caught them doing it.
that would be
Seriously.
a whole disservice to your
I
medical
know.
treatment.
Well, let me just tell you that I have to stop my new mental health counselor from giving me a diagnosis on my X-ray that I had for my spine. I said, "What?" I said, "This is outside of your scope. Your job
Yeah.
description doesn't read that you're to give any type of opinion whether or not my physical is or isn't existent. You know what I
Right.
mean? And you're not qualified to read any type of X-ray, so shut up."
I
Yeah.
mean, and even if they are, that's not in the realm of mental
Right,
health.
I know
right.
exactly. I
Yeah,
was thinking about the whole thing is stay in your lane. You know,
Yeah.
right. Just
like,
stay in your
you're
lane.
a mental
But
health
you know,
provider, not a
but
medical provider.
but I do find that employees of the VA sometimes they overstretch. You know, and they overstretch or and overreach, you know, their job descriptions.
Yeah.
And it's not
Althena, that's funny because I find more often than not that VA providers don't do enough
right.
in their position. Like I described with my specialty care provider, literally just saying like, "Oh, you doing okay? Okay, good. Need any prescriptions? Okay, good."
Right with the back towards you.
Yeah. Like I didn't want to stare at his yarmulke. I wanted
Mhm.
to have a
Face to
one-on-one,
face. Yeah.
face-to-face discussion, exam. Now, before he took over the clinic, there was a nurse practitioner that ran the clinic, which I didn't feel real warm and fuzzy about because I'm literally in a neurology clinic and
Right.
it's not being
Right.
ran by a neurologist.
Right.
But she was exceedingly thorough. She was the type of medical provider that cared about her patients. She put in all the work, all the effort. Everything was face to face. She would jot down a note and come right back to the exam. And if there was something in the exam that came up that needed to be annotated, she would do that. And she would communicate it like, "Okay, don't move. I need to write this down." And she would come
Right.
back to me and be like, "All right, now moving forward, let's try this movement. Let's do that. We're going to test this." Where this guy was like, "Oh, okay, look up, look
Hmm.
down, stick your tongue out. Okay, you look like
Right.
you're okay. Oh, you look healthy today." I'm like, "How would you know?
Right.
I saw you 6 months ago and you never looked at me."
Right. I've had that too.
Yeah.
I've had like all of it, right? Like the EMG doctor, she was really good. And they're allowed to diagnose you right there. They tell you, you know, what it is.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. And then,
But
but I've had the same where I've been seeing, well, look, I had this mental health, this mental health doctor, at the VA that kept putting me in for a decrease. But when I went in, our meetings were just like how you described about this guy with the yarmulke. she was just like that too for our meeting. She's like, okay, so what's going on? Okay, do you need any medication? And then bye, as she's getting ready to, let me out of her office. It was very much just checking the box. And I
What do you
knew it.
mean? What do you mean decrease? What was she attempting to decrease?
She put me in, she said that my rating was too high. At the time I was like 70%, but
Oh,
she would
wow.
put me in
Were you
to
in
be
a
reevaluated.
okay? Now I have questions. Were you in a CMP exam?
No.
This was your mental health provider
Yeah.
at the VA.
At the VA.
Yeah, exactly. I have heard PCPs doing that. I heard like primary care providers doing that, but yeah, or in some specialty care centers. I never heard of mental health.
I've never actually.
It's possible.
I,
Yeah.
I was under the impression that VA medical providers were supposed to be hands off when it comes to ratings.
You're supposed to.
Period.
They are
Across the
supposed to.
board.
Oh.
Hmm.
They can't sign a nexus letter for a patient
Or
because
DBQ. Hmm.
or DBQ.
Mhm.
So why would they be allowed to offer an unsolicited opinion in a rating at all?
Right.
Right.
Like that doesn't make any sense to me. I actually feel like that medical provider was severely overstepping and
Yeah.
possibly even something worse.
Right.
Yeah. No, I believe it is worse because I mean I'm just now like finding out like she put me down for alcoholism reoccurring like 3 years in a row. I've never had to go to rehab. I mean, when I quit drinking, I just quit drinking.
Yeah, but that I can tell you from my own research and my own experiences with people with substance abuse issues, um, going to rehab neither proves nor disproves the presence of a chemical
Right.
dependency.
Yeah.
Well,
That's true.
well, okay.
Either it's there or it's not,
Exactly.
and it's
I'm just
their
saying
and it's
she
their medical opinion that she felt like you exhibited the signs and symptoms of. That's all that I gathered from what you just said.
well that was at the same time that she was putting in for my rating to be decreased.
Yeah, that seems like an issue
Oh,
way
yeah.
more than uh, a medical provider that is trained to recognize, substance abuse issues, stating such facts, medical opinions, which is part of their job.
Yeah. I do want to touch that. I'm not going to get too much because what that situation Alfina went through. It's a deeper conversation
Right.
because I mean, if I was any veteran that has that situation, I would get all my medical records, any notes, anything that provider has said.
I
I want a
Yeah,
record of it.
and I personally
Hmm.
would head directly to my patient advocate and let them know that my primary or specialty care provider just told me that they were going to submit me for a reduction in service connected rating. And I would exhaust that to all options
Hmm.
to find out if in fact that is within their realm or scope of powers.
So okay, so what I did is this. I moved my care because I did suspect that, right? But the whole time, unbeknownst to the VA, all of my records are almost duplicated or they have already been opinioned on with doctors from the U of M. And I know that those doctors have been working on studies anyway. They share records in Ann Arbor, with U of M. They can literally see
Yes.
each other. Right. So
Yes.
what I did, I moved all my care there so I could keep it, continuous, and I could, not. That's how I've offset the issues that I've had with the VA.
Okay.
Is get the university, and they do research. They've done several researches on the VA over medicating, veterans, things like that. But they also are very aware of the VA not being able to, like the treatment that you were talking about, not what am I trying to say? Not doing.
Insufficient care.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, literally, that's literally what I told my specialty care provider.
Yeah.
I told him, I'm like, I would like to see a neurologist through community care due to my lack of care and treatment
Right.
in this clinic.
Right. And that's what you have to do. You have to do it.
And his response was, "Oh, okay. Is that all?" I'm like, yeah, I think we're done.
Yeah, I've had them.
And I haven't seen that man in more than 3 years, and I know for a fact he still holds the exact same position at the exact same VA hospital.
Yeah, I don't see punishment. I don't see where like
Accountability.
Yeah, I don't see
Yeah,
that at
that's
all.
better word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, get in your room. That closet with that yarmulke.
I don't know if we have
Stone
to
that
focus
man.
on that. I don't know if I should even use that adjective. But that's just
Shoe that man.
the vision I get in my head when I think of him, because that's how I spent most of my time with him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a great experience. I think Alfina had the same provider, special care provider, when I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Mhm.
And she, in our conversation and stuff, and my initial appointment with her, she was like, "Hey, I have it too." And from there, I was like, "Wow, okay." See, she instantly connected with me. Like, here's someone
Mhm.
as a doctor that has the same ailment that I have. So,
Right.
and her bedside manner was on point. I mean, she was probably one of the best doctors I had outside of VA and at the VA. I mean, she was on point.
Mm-hmm. I agree
Yeah,
with that.
I had a similar situation when I was ultimately diagnosed with my autoimmune disease as well. Um,
Mhm.
the diagnosing physician, um, like, came in my hospital room after being there for, I don't know, 3 days, and he's like, "Well, I got good news and I got bad news. What do you want first?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, hit me. What do you got?" And he's like, "Well, the bad news is you have this disease, but the good news is we know what it is now, and we know how to move forward with some treatments to hopefully get you back on your feet and being able to have a healthier lifestyle." And he was great. I thoroughly enjoyed all of my interactions with him. Buck, like you said, the bedside manner was top notch. Now, he may not have had the same autoimmune disease or deficiency that I had, but he was specialized in it. He went to Baylor. He was engaged at the Houston VA through part of his education. And I had also been at that VA in and around the time. So we had that connection. So that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not there anymore.
So would you both say that overall, I mean, from this conversation, I think overall we're saying there's some really great providers, and then there's some really crappy ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
I would say what we're seeing now this year, they're losing a lot of experienced people based off
Yeah,
people
yeah,
taking
yeah,
DRP, so taking a deferment, like, you know what, because they're seeing the writing on the wall, you know, they're not happy with how certain changes are being made. And what's going to happen and impact are the people who I guess in a sad way are left over, who are still working for the VA. They're going to take on some of that work. So you lose a quality provider, you lose a quality nurse, you lose a quality MSA or supervisor. These people are gone, you know,
right,
10,
right,
15, 30 years of service working for the federal sector. These individuals are gone. And now their work is falling somewhere. Someone has to pick up the slack. So I think that's the thing I'm gonna kind of watch as a veteran, like how is going to impact that individual who has this additional work, these
Yeah,
additional tasks that are put
right.
on. And some people can flourish. Some people are like, you know, they want, you know, like bring it on.
yeah,
I can do this.
yeah.
I want this. Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that I'm sure love having a full plate,
Hmm.
but like we've also discussed, there's probably people that don't want their plate to be all that full.
That's true.
Like I know some of the receiving nurses in some of the departments, you know, they don't like to interact face to face with the patients when they come to check in. They only will answer the phone or respond to emails or direct messages, uh, and then vice versa.
Yeah,
Some 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 of the receiving nurses or employees don't answer the phone. They'll only deal with people face to face, checking in, asking questions, you know, getting test results or whatever it might be. Like, you can't pick and choose what you do. If you're going to be
Right.
in that very basic, simple rule, yes, it may be more involved than I'm aware of, or you're aware of, or some of our listeners or viewers are aware of. But if you're going to be in that forward facing position, that's where the customer service aspect comes in. You're the first interaction that the veteran patient has with the VA on any given day. Yeah, I may have been to the VA 37 times in 2025, but on Monday, when I go for my 38th visit for the year, what is my interaction going to be with that receiving professional? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be dismissive? Is it going to be polite? Is it going to be friendly? Is it going to be thoughtful? Is it going to be genuine? These are things I feel like the VA needs to get better at screening in not only the hiring process, but the assignment process.
Yeah.
Do I assign a person that doesn't have the interpersonal skills for face-to-face one-on-one communication on a front-facing position? Like, you can't put someone
right,
like that there, because all of a sudden you're going to get the wrong veteran on the wrong day,
right.
and it's going to be a complete meltdown. And that's just not okay. I really feel like they need to do a way better job at putting their aces in their places.
No, I agree because I think sometimes the VA gets caught up, well, like a lot of corporation business with nepotism, cronyism.
Yep.
You know, it's based on likability. Oh, you're a good friend to me. I'm gonna hook you up. Got this job for you, or you're my cousin, or you're my, you know, brother-in-law. And I think they need to get away with that. Get away from that kind of approach or hiring practice. They should focus more on like who's the best candidate and who really can fill that role. And
Yeah.
I think any role for the VA, you got to have a customer service skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't care that your aunt, sister, brother, cousin works in a certain department and that's where you want to work.
Mhm.
You know, so you guys can carpool together or lunch together or chit chat, or maybe they can help you train. I don't care about that as a patient. I want the best person for the job to be there.
Exactly.
And
I agree.
I feel like we all deserve that. Any patient at any medical facility deserves that.
So, with that, the VA has to remain competitive so we can get the best candidates possible. Because people, I mean, I don't know how the layoffs and how that's going to be, but is it? I mean, because I don't know if I was practicing, if I would want to deal with the bureaucracy that you have to deal with at the VA versus University of Michigan, for example. I'm just saying, and I'm qualified, right? Like, and also like people that I do know that are in med school getting ready, to come out and work. How does that package look for federal employment now versus private practice?
Well, it doesn't look good.
And so that's the problem. So we're getting, so
And,
we're only
and it's not only like, the government package may look better in some aspects, job security,
right.
retirement benefits.
Well, yeah, but see
But
with that, the way that the recent way or attack, should I say, on the federal workforce, it is not attractive. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people want to get out. A lot of our qualified people now want to get out.
well,
Or got out.
let's
Or got
be
out.
honest and clear about one thing. You had mentioned earlier, Athena, that the VA needs to remain competitive. Let's be honest about that.
Okay.
The VA healthcare system has never been a competitive healthcare system.
That's true.
It is a private healthcare system that is not required to be competitive. They have a fixed audience of patients. Like
Okay.
a non-veteran, more likely than not, unless they are a spouse that meets so many extra criteria to be seen there. 99% of the patients, correct me if I'm wrong, Buck, but 99% of the patients seen at the VA are veterans. And that's how it is designed.
Yeah, because on the rare components, the champ VA, like the spouse, could be. Yeah.
And it's under very unique circumstances where a spouse would get treatment.
Or humanitarian aid. So someone like, I mean, the VA
stumbled into the emergency room and needed to get patched up and then shipped out. Yes, that's why I said 99% of the time it is veterans like you and I.
Because a lot of veterans won't even know that part. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
And well, just like we can stumble into any emergency room across the country,
for sure,
or the globe, for that. If we need urgent medical treatment, we can go anywhere and get it.
Yeah.
And the VA, after a fight, I'm sure, would then cover it because of an urgent situation.
Yeah, make sure you call within 72 hours, though.
That's right. You as the veteran or the patient or the caretaker for such needs to make sure you check all the right boxes at the right time. But yeah, Althena, the VA medical healthcare system is not and never will be a competitive healthcare system. They are not your Henry Fords, your Ascensions, Beaumonts, McLarens. They are none of those.
Well, Beaumont's no longer.
Yeah, they're Corwell. Yeah, but they are none of those large conglomerate for-profit hospitals.
Right.
They don't attract.
But I'm
cutting edge physicians. They don't. It's just like the military. Like, you don't want to go have a surgery while you're on active duty by an active duty surgeon.
Right. Right.
Because of the stigma that is attached to that. The three of us were all enlisted. And coming from the enlisted ranks, it is openly and widely known, I say known lightly, but that medical professionals that are on active duty are not necessarily the cream of the crop. These are doctors and physicians and surgeons that were not picked up by the private sector.
Right.
Their only option to pay off their hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical school debt was to commission into the armed services. And that offers a subpar medical treatment. Now, like I said, it's known, very lightly used. It's what is discussed and talked about in the barracks, in the lower ranks, maybe even in some of the higher ranks. But I don't know how true that is, but it's believable. It's plausible in my mind as a somewhat educated person, knowing that in a competitive environment, the number 1 through 10 people in a field during a hiring period will go to the top facilities and companies and fill their positions, where the lower number of qualified applicants will then have to scramble to find a job elsewhere in their field, often landing in subpar places. And I honestly feel, it's my own personal opinion, and I'm not taking anything away from the doctors that care and work and are good at their job and have a good bedside manner. But it's in my opinion that the VA has a large number of medical professionals or even staff that they are just there because they had nowhere else to go, because no one else would have them.
You make it
just dropped the mic.
so horrible.
Boom.
There are some that
Go ahead.
actually are okay. There are some of the providers that I've had that are veterans themselves, and they know what I mean? And they're the best ones.
I agree.
I agree as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like I made that point before I freaking spiked that shit in the ground.
Yeah.
I said there are a large number that are just there because they can't go anywhere else.
Yeah, but
I did not say all. I did not say most.
Somehow,
how about it's a disproportionate number than in the private sector, because the VA is not a public hospital. They don't have to entice people. We're not putting up on billboards what our emergency room wait times are.
Okay. Yes.
Right.
I agree, Jake. But the thing is that our lawmakers have done a great job still of making it attractive where everybody's not a piece of crap. I mean, the salary, I think that's competitive.
I disagree.
Okay, so they get paid much less, right? I haven't looked.
I haven't looked either, but I would disagree.
Yeah, I think they make much more money on private sector.
Yeah,
private practice for especially the doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now maybe some of the staff roles, because of the retirement options and
Yeah. The
things
benefit
like that,
packages. Yeah.
those benefit packages are great for staffers.
Yeah.
But as far as the doctors go, they are not getting paid a 1 cent more than a doctor that works at a for-profit hospital. There's no way. Now, granted, some of our section heads that have been with the VA for a large number of years, yes, they're making excellent money, and
Right.
they are more than likely very passionate about their call to service, to serve veterans. Some of them, as we know, are veterans themselves,
Yeah.
and they want to help their fellow veterans, so they stay there. And I'm not saying that they get paid a horrible amount of money, but they could most definitely, especially the heads of departments, they're more than qualified to go out and be paid more money in a for-profit environment.
Wow. Yeah, we had a great discussion. There's a lot of things. I know we could continue on another segment.
You just like it when I get fired up.
I know.
I just let him. I let him do his thing.
He
Man,
needs to be dubbed "Let It Rip" by Jake.
you guys just over there pushing buttons and shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can just do it. We can do that. We can get all we gotta do is get you
just
started.
rotted it off.
I'm just over here. I'm going to start reading newspapers. I think it's nap time. I am done. I am over this. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.
On "Let It Rip" with Jake.
Yeah. With that, we're gonna close up and finish out the Ride It Off podcast. Thank you for all the listeners and viewers. Hopefully, we
Thank
get some
you.
subscribers down the road. We got YouTube, we got Instagram, we're looking at Facebook and TikTok stuff. So thank you for all us that are listening and participating. Thank you to all our veterans and current soldiers and stuff for all you do for this country.
Thank you. Hoo-hoo.
All right.
All right.